find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Saturday to us all.
Yes, this morning is a bit of a pajama recording.
A morning bone session. Wait, not like that, though. Excuse me.
You are quite excused.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bone-anza pajama party,
where we will be having a bonanza in our pajamas, and we invite you to do the same.
Absolutely. I've got some coffee with the only thing that was available in this house, oat milk.
Nice. Good for your
and
tummy.
And a little bit of sugar. Yeah, that's true. The bowl of cereal that I finished the milk off with maybe will be bad for the tummy, but the coffee, on the other hand, will be good for the tummy.
If you're tootin', you know who to blame. I'm also enjoying some coffee with some Chobani coffee cake creamer.
Coffee cake flavored creamer? That sounds good.
Yeah, this girl at my work had it, and there's been kind of a funny little standoff going on where some people bring creamer in for their coffee.
Sure.
And they'll write their name on it. And I've been one of these people. But then there are people who don't have creamer for their coffee and will steal a little bit of creamer for their coffee.
A swig, yeah.
A swig. And I'm a generous person. You can swig of my creamer. But if 7 people swig of your creamer in the morning, now you're
That's
into
a problem.
Work. Yeah, and you got no freaking creamer. And so there were these posts going up on Slack every once in a while that's like, my creamer is empty. Who drank my creamer? Who drank my creamer? My creamer is empty.
Fuck. Yeah, because it seems like such a victimless crime in the moment. It's like, oh, it's just a little bit for flavor. But then if everybody's doing it, then you're out.
And God forbid you buy the most attractive flavor of creamer.
Yeah, it's like, are you then motivated to buy the most disgusting flavor of creamer that you can think of?
I mean, by the rules of war, yes. But then you're ruining your own morning.
Yeah, you have to find something that's bad to everybody else but delicious to you in order to win, anyway.
In order to beat the crowd. My manager did finally break down and buy communal creamer.
Yeah, I think that's the path of least resistance if you have a good manager.
Right, so you're not embroiled in the creamer wars of 2024.
I hope to never be in such a war, or any war for that matter.
I don't know. If people come for my creamer, then I'm gonna draft you, bitch. You're in my army.
The army of coffee cake Chobani flavor.
Mm-hmm. Our flag is very sweet and a little sickly.
And brown sugar is just dripping all over everybody.
Mm-hmm. We're sweet, but we'll kill you.
In olden days, a glimpse of femur was only for morbid dreamers, but you're not alone. For anything wrong.
Bone-anza.
Thank you. Bone-anza. Thank you.
Bone-anza.
Count it. Bone-anza. Thank you. We're having a bonanza.
Bonanza.
Thank you. Thank you. Count it. Count it.
Bonanza. Bonanza.
Bonanza. Bonanza.
Hello and welcome to Anything Bones. I'm Sophie, almost 69 executions Schwartz.
And I'm Katelyn, in life insurance again, Hart. And this is the podcast where we talk about bones, creepy stuff, crime, and sometimes we combine it all and we do a creepy crime bonanza.
Creepy crime bonanza. Crimes that make you shiver and shake. It's more creepy than just the killing.
Exactly. Welcome back. We have not done a bonanza in a hot minute, but I'm happy to be back in this format.
Me too. And the people, they've been craving a bonanza. I love this format because we usually just pick a theme, creepy crime for this week because I wanted to do like a Halloween in the summertime. And Caitlin was like, I've just been looking at crime. And so we were like, you know what? Creepy crime.
Combine the two, creepy crime. It's very open.
It's very open-ended. So we don't know what each other is going to be talking about as usual, but it's even broader than before. Even broader than before.
You want to kick things off?
Oh, I absolutely do. Especially because I just teased it within my name.
Whoa.
So starting off our creepy crime Bone-anza, I ended up seeing, both of mine are motivated by pictures that I saw.
Oh.
So I'm going to send you a picture really quickly, and you can tell me what you view within the picture.
Ooh. Front and center, we've got a large axe, and we've got a red cloak with a big hood, and some scraps of clothing, ? Some gloves. I feel like this is the outfit of an executioner, maybe?
You are 10 out of 10 correct, Caitlin.
Oh, thank God.
This is one of history's most infamous executioners, Giovanni Battista Bugatti.
Okay. I actually haven't heard of this guy.
Yeah, he's an interesting fellow. He lived between 1779 and 1869.
Nice.
Thank you. And he was the official executioner for the Papal States from 1796 to 1864. And he was the longest serving executioner in the Papal States. And he was given the nickname Mastro Tita, or translated to English, Master of Justice.
Whoa. Does that mean that he was really quick? Like he would do it in one swing most of the time?
Yeah, and he was the one doling out justice.
And so the Papal States, does that mean he worked for the Pope, basically?
Yes.
Interesting. The Pope's Executioner. Sounds like a HBO series that I would watch.
Right? Me too. Especially because this guy's life seems pretty interesting. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but there seemed to be a duality between himself as a person and the guy who chopped people's heads off.
Oh, okay. He compartmentalized.
Yeah, and you know what? I think if you have anything inside you that is still vulnerable, you have to.
Sure.
So, just a little, we talked about the Papal States for just a second, but I just want to ground everybody in this idea because there's a lot of things I know about in history, but a big spot hole in that knowledge is Christian land arrangements of the mid-1800s.
What? That's crazy. Our theater degrees didn't prep us for that?
They didn't, unfortunately. I'd call Jeff Prohl, let him know. He's retired. So the people...
Let's not bother him.
Yeah, let's not. Oh, but he would love it. Are you kidding me?
Dream guest, actually. This is an old professor of ours for people who didn't go there.
Yeah, the head of our theater department since retired. Mm-hmm. So the Papal States, back to that. They were the official state of the church. Like if the church had a country, that's what the Papal States were.
Okay.
And they were a bunch of different territories along the Apennine Peninsula. So they kind of were in charge of kind of the edges and middle of Italy.
Okay.
If you can visualize that. And the rule of this territory was under the sovereignty of the Pope from 756 until 1870. So quite a time. And this, of course, was the Papal States were dissolved when the unification of Italy happened between 1859 and 1870.
Okay.
During that time, they were like, you know what? We're all going to be Italy now. No more of this Papal State bullshit.
Yeah, I think that sounds fair.
Right? They all just want to be Italy. Back to our guy, Giovanni. He started becoming an executioner when he was 17 years old.
Yikes.
I know, right? It's very young to be killing people for money.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it was different times, but yikes.
Yikes indeed.
And 17 at that time is like your middle age, I guess. So
I mean, yeah, 17 at that time, you're fully an adult in the eyes of everybody else.
Yeah, it's a different time. Now I'm like, oh, that's so horrible. That's a child, but
yeah you're
it's
sending
a little...
a high schooler off to kill people?
Yeah, no.
For the government?
Yeah, yikes.
Yikes indeed. His career spanned a course of 68 years, and it made me sad because I wish that he had stayed on for just one more year. And his career, of course, lasted from March of 1796 until 1864. And during his career, the method of execution in the Papal States was actually quite varied. You could be beheaded by an axe, you could be hung, or you could be killed with a mallet.
Oh, God.
Hammered to death.
That's by the Pope's executioner.
Yeah, I was going to say, by extension, the Pope.
That's fucked up. That's really weird.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you do that you get the hammer? Like, something
that
really,
sounds really bad. Yeah.
They did start to use the guillotine for a while, which I thought was really interesting, because the French brought that in, and I guess the Italians looked at it and they were like, that looks interesting. I'll take one of those, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's, I don't know. It makes sense.
It was said to be, at the time, the most humane way of executing people. So,
Sure. I don't know. None of it seems humane now.
no. But I'd take the guillotine over the mallet any day of the week.
Yeah, definitely. Ugh.
So over his 68 years of being the Pope's executioner, Giovanni carried out a total of 514 executions, an average of about 7 a year.
Okay.
He actually noted in his diary about 516 people that were executed by him, but we think that 2 of them were done by an apprentice of his. He let the kid do it.
What an apprenticeship.
Right?
I don't know. Is this considered like a good job or like a job for somebody who's like dirty and bad? I don't know. Is this a noble job?
I think it is. I think it
Okay.
is. I think because you're connected to the Pope in that way, I think that
Okay.
there's respect from that. I think people definitely don't want to get too close to you, though.
Sure.
Just because, I guess if I was your friend, I could never forget,
Well, yeah, it's just like, wow, you're capable of that? Okay.
But it's also like, it's your job, right? Like,
And I mean, an average of 7 a year. What is he doing the rest of the time? Just like
we'll talk
fucking
about that.
off?
We'll talk about that.
All right.
So he was described by people as being short and a little round, but always very well dressed.
Okay.
So he had a fashion sense to him. And he was, of course, a frequent visitor of the church. He was married, but he didn't have any kids. He was a childless king. And when he wasn't executing people, to answer your question, him and his wife sold painted umbrellas to tourists.
Okay.
So you see the duality.
This makes him so much more interesting to me.
Right? Like, 7 to 8 times a year, this guy has to go in front of the entire city with a weapon of some choosing by the courts, kill a person, and then you could see him 2 days later in the basilica selling his beautifully painted umbrellas with his lovely wife.
That is fascinating. He definitely compartmentalized, because I feel like you probably weren't making a fortune off of the painted umbrellas, so
No.
they had to survive on somehow, and
Because what are you going to do? Sit in your house all day and think about all the blood that splats up when you mallet a person? Like, no, you got to paint umbrellas. You got to take walks with your wife. Like,
I guess, yeah. Ugh, it's wild. Such a wild time.
it is a wild time. Continuing with his compartmentalization, he referred to his executions as justices, and he referred to the people that he executed as his patients.
Okay, that's
Creepy.
the justices I get. The patients I do not get. That's really creepy.
Yeah, it's incredibly creepy. And of course, he could compartmentalize all he wanted, but people knew who he was.
Right.
And for his own protection, he was not allowed to leave a certain section of the city because people were really concerned that relatives or friends of people that he'd executed would come after him.
Okay. Yeah.
It also was no secret when he would be executing someone when it was gonna happen, because people would see him walking across a certain bridge in the direction of, where they were gonna set up the execution. And hordes of people would just follow him.
Jesus.
To this execution. Yeah, like, imagine your commute to work, but with thousands of other people, like, being like, yeah, do your job!
So creepy. I've always been really freaked out by, like, the idea of a public execution.
Mobs scare me.
Yes, of course.
So one of the reasons that we know a lot about him is that there was actually a memoirs of his published in 1891. It wasn't actually written by him, but it was off of his, like, diaries and journal entries.
Okay.
Even Charles Dickinson wrote about him in his work Pictures from Italy in 1846.
Damn.
So this guy is documented.
Yeah. Yeah. Official.
And of course, swinging all the way back around, his bloodstained clothes, axes, and instruments of execution are on display at the Museum of Criminology at the Via del Goffone in Rome. And you can see what he actually wore and used to execute people.
Damn. That fit the bill perfectly. Creepy crime.
Thank you. I thought so. When we decided on that, I was like, oh, I got a guy for this.
Oh, hell yeah. I've got a guy.
And so this is a Bone-anza just because we don't know much more about him other than that. Like, that's
totally
kind of all there is kind of to say about him. But he's such an interesting person to think about because of that duality. And I think
the umbrellas. I'll never forget.
Yeah, and the fact that, like, just him and his wife, like, are just like this childless pair who do arts and crafts together, and 7 to 8 times a year, hubby's gotta go kill somebody.
Yeah, and he comes back with a bag of, money, assumedly.
Yeah, he comes back with rent and we don't ask questions.
Yeah, guess so. Bone-anza.
Bone-anza!
All right, so as we always do, I'm going to take us somewhere completely different.
Yeah. Bye, Italy.
I'm going to tell you guys about a museum heist. This took place at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston.
Ooh, I've never heard of this.
Yeah, no, I hadn't either. My sources for this were CBS News, the website for the museum itself, which is gardnermuseum.org, and Smithsonian Magazine. Excuse me. Smithsonian Magazine.
Thank you for clarifying. I wouldn't have known.
Well, I was just staring at it because it's smithsonianmag.com. So I was like, but the abbreviation is, it is not really needed. Okay, anyway. So we're in Boston, March 18th, 1990, at this museum, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. 2 thieves dressed as policemen walk into the museum after midnight. And the guard on... This is from the website's museum. This is, quote, "The guard on duty broke protocol and allowed them through the employee entrance. At the fake officer's request, he stepped away from the watch desk. He and a second security guard were handcuffed and tied up in the basement of the museum." The thieves departed with 13 of the Gardner's works of art 81 minutes later.
Jesus, 81 minutes?
Yeah, they were in there. They handcuffed the 2 security guards there because they were dressed as policemen. They were just, like, allowed inside.
Yeah, I love how the museum is like, they broke protocol.
Yeah,
these guys.
It is dripping with disdain.
They were like, we told these fucking guys not to do this, and they did it anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, so they end up handcuffed in the basement of the museum, and then the thieves spend 81 minutes getting at least 13 of the paintings and items out of the Gardner Museum. Today, the paintings paintings are valued at about $500 million. There are priceless works by Rembrandt and Johannes Vermeer. I don't know who Johannes Vermeer is, but I know who Rembrandt is.
Yeah.
So over the years, obviously, there have been a lot of suspects, people who have been connected to this crime, but ultimately the location of all of the stolen paintings and artifacts is unknown still.
Really?
Yep.
But how do you sit on a Rembrandt? Like, where do you put that? Where do you store that?
They have no fucking idea. And this happened in 1990, so just a few years before we were born. Like, this was not that long ago.
But also, on the flip side, over 30 years.
Well, yeah, we are getting older. Wah, wah.
No, we're sexy women in our 30s. We're
30,
cool.
flirty, and thriving.
Exactly.
So there is still to this day a $10 million reward promised by the FBI if you can like help find these stolen paintings.
Well, I know what my summer's about.
Summer project.
Yeah, exactly.
Solve this 30-year-old crime.
Exactly. I mean, hey, on this podcast, it's happened.
It could happen. So the FBI believes that the artwork went through the circles of organized crime and ended up in Philadelphia. And they say the trail went cold in about 2003.
Okay, so they did have a handle on it at one point.
They're pretty sure that that's the general thing that happened. The chief of security for the Gardner Museum, his name is Anthony Amore or Amore, I'm not sure.
Katelyn, that's amore.
Yeah. Pizza pie. No. But he reported that a recent tipster has prompted officials to take a look at a murder case of career criminal Jimmy Marks because the tipster believes that this killing is connected to this museum heist.
Oh my God, it's like a real life episode of White Collar.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I will say that this article from Smithsonian Magazine came out in 2022. Okay. And I couldn't find anything that like came after that. So I don't know what to feel about this because I don't know that it's been confirmed.
I know how to feel. The art's still out there. The reward is still mine.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. You might just have to go to the East Coast because that's where they think it is.
God damn it. Why can't you do a heist over here?
I mean, it could have circulated. But yeah, like there's like 13 major works that are just where they're supposed to be.
Can you freaking imagine like someone lapses on their like storage unit payment and like you know the people open it up and it's that
would be so amazing. I mean, again, like you said, it's been 30 years since this happened. So either they are just like very well hidden in private collections at this point, or yeah, they're in storage somewhere and somebody's going to pass away and it's going to come out. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
I'm so fascinated by this because, like, as we've talked about on this podcast so many times, like, you know, you can commit the crime, but often the most difficult part is hiding it.
Yeah,
and
keeping it a secret.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if there's multiple people involved.
Yep. You know, which there definitely was. So it's like, you know, you were talking about career criminals. Those are the type of people who can keep that kind of secret for 30 years. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So this Jimmy Marks, this career criminal, he was murdered about 11 months after the heist. And I believe my source said that he was shot when he was on his front porch and the like bulb in his light had been unscrewed slightly, so it was dark. So like it was apparently like the classic sign of a mob hit.
Oh, see, as they say, two can keep a secret when one of us is dead.
Exactly. According to this tip that the chief of security received, a few days before he was murdered, Jimmy Marks was bragging about possessing 2 of the stolen paintings and saying that he had hidden some of the stolen artwork. I mean, this is allegedly.
Yeah, of course.
Huge in quotes. Like, this may or may not have happened, but this is what the tipster said.
Damn.
This guy, Jimmy Marks, also had connections to other suspects of the Gardner Museum heist. But again, this is all just suspected because he's dead. No one's talking, and we don't know for sure where they are or who was involved. And today in the Gardner Museum, they still have empty frames where all of the pictures used to be. Yeah.
They are bitter.
They are super bitter. And like, they're like, we're just waiting for them to be returned. Because some of them were literally cut out of their frames.
Oh my God.
That's how this went. Yeah.
White collar. This is
100%.
This is wild. This is the type of shit that the Ocean's 11 type shit I love.
Oh. Well, I mean, I want to just keep an eye on this case, like just in case they ever find some of these paintings. There's like a orb, I believe, too.
An orb?
Let me look again. Hold on.
They took the freaking orb? For those listening at home, I have an orb that I love very much.
I think I was with you when I got it at that rock shop in Portland.
Yeah, I forget what kind of stone it is, but it's like this beautiful white opaque orb that's like maybe like 6 inches across, would you say? It's like it's like pretty big, but it's got kind of a cat eye pattern to it. So when you put it on the lighted stand that I bought for it, it glows It glows quite brilliantly.
That's pretty cool.
So I have personal investment in this orb. Oh my God. Sweet Joe is sleeping. And Sweet Louis is just licking his arm.
Yeah, that's what Minnie does to me. That's pretty cute. Pets are weird. I think it's an anxiety thing.
It's
like soothing for them. Yeah. So it's not an orb, excuse me. It's a Napoleonic eagle finial. Which, what is that? Let's see.
It's like one of those things that you put like on top of a flagpole. Like,
that's probably it. This particular eagle finial was the insignia of the 1st Regiment of Napoleon's Imperial Guard. Yeah, it looks like it was something that was on top of a flag.
Yeah, damn girl, how did you know that? I don't know.
Fuck yeah. Pulled it out of your butt.
Yeah, that's where that kind of stuff lives. Peas in the balls and random general knowledge in the butt. Yeah, so that's wild. So it was both paintings and historical artifacts.
Yeah, and like a vase kind of looking thing. If I'm gonna, obviously I'll post my sources. The website for the Gardner Museum has pictures of all of the things that were stolen.
Nice. So if you see any of them,
yeah,
boneheads.
The funniest part of all this was, I think this was in the CBS News source. It was like, we get a lot of tips about this, and it's people that are looking at like Zillow listings, and they're like, I see the picture in the Zillow listing, and it's just like a recreation of it. It's not like actually it.
How wild would that be?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I mean, maybe that's how they're going to be caught. I don't know. Somebody is displaying that somewhere.
Yeah, criminals have done stupider shit before. I was reading about a case this past week where a guy was disposing of a murder victim's personal possessions, like a purse and a piece of clothing, and he put it in a recycling bin.
Oh.
Where it would be personally sorted by real humans.
Jesus.
And so they were immediately like, this is not recyclable.
Maybe he thought it couldn't be traced back to him. I don't know. That's dumb. Be better, criminals. Be smarter.
No, be worse. I love it.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I do love the dumb criminal stories, but I mean, clearly these criminals are sophisticated enough to have kept the shit that they took.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're not gonna see that stolen Rembrandt in a fucking Zillow listing with these guys.
$500 million today.
Can you even imagine?
$10 million reward.
Telling you, it could be set up for life if we find this art, Caitlin.
Yeah, I guess the investigation starts here.
Exactly. We're going to start constructing our red yarn crime maps.
Our murder board.
Our murder board. While you listen to this ad from Podmoth Network.
Hey there, my name is Bree.
And I'm Suze.
We're the hosts of Crime and Spirits, a true crime and cocktail podcast. Do you love spooky stories and all things true crime?
How about themed cocktails? Do you love those too?
Well, that's perfect, because so do we.
Yeah, in fact, we love them so much, we made an entire podcast all about it.
Every week, we bring you a new episode that covers a different case or topic of interest, but first, we'll need drinks.
Don't you worry, we've got you covered there. Every week, we'll teach you how to make a handcrafted cocktail that ties into the theme or topic in some way.
So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and pretty much every other platform available. So buckle up
And sip tight.
We can't wait to talk some true crime with you. Bye!
So I'm thinking just a short trip to Philadelphia, and we interview people just like back to back in a sandwich shop. And then when we find the art, we can use our dogs to sniff the art.
That's true. I have more faith in your dogs, maybe Kuno specifically.
He does have the lineage for it.
Yes, the German Shepherdness of him. But I believe the security guard, maybe both of the security guards have passed away. And
Ugh.
I mean, a lot of people think that it was an inside job somehow, but I mean, allegedly, no one actually knows anything. So who knows?
All alleged. Switching, actually, from art to more art.
Oh, okay. Kind of on theme.
Yeah, welcome to the middle of this Bone-anza, Art-nanza. So I am going to send you yet another photograph. Well,
Okay.
not a photograph. This one's a painting. So interesting that we both chose some painting-centric
Yeah.
topics. So the painting that you're looking at
Ooh.
right now is called The Roses of Heliogalbus.
Okay. It's very beautiful. Rose petals everywhere. It looks like a bunch of like Greek gods and goddesses are like laying in rose petals, basically.
Would you believe that this painting actually depicts a mass murder?
What?
Yes.
I would not see that immediately.
Yes. So we're gonna talk about it.
Okay.
So quick sources for this: we have Atlas Obscura, Penelope.uchicago.edu, Daily Art Magazine, Wikipedia twice, and HistoryExtra.com.
Nice.
So this painting is actually a depiction of a party held by Marcus Aurelius Antonius, who was a Roman emperor from 218 to 222. And he was, of course, a teenage emperor. Teenage Emperor Terror.
Sure.
He had a very short reign, as I just said, and it was pretty much completely marred by sex scandals and religious controversy.
Okay.
After the death of his cousin, he was put into place as Roman emperor by an army that was led by his grandmother, Julia Mesa, and she was kind of hoping that her grandson would be like an easy puppet for her to kind of rule through, but she was sorely mistaken because he ended up being a totally unruly, he's a teenage emperor. He loved having big sex parties and executing mass amounts of people.
Woof.
Yeah, woof indeed. And she was like, what am I going to do with this freaking guy?
Yeah. I mean, that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
This is a Cersei Lannister
Yes.
Joffrey kind of situation, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. But if Joffrey was like way more of a little sexual freak.
Mm-hmm.
This young man, this teenage emperor, was married at least 4 times and possibly as many as 7.
Ew. Like at once?
I'm not sure.
Ew. Okay. I mean, yeah. Just seems like a lot.
Yeah. He was something of a bisexual icon. He had sex with both men and women, but people were really outraged by the gay sex that he was having because it was rumored that he was a passive participant and not an active participant, which was like just a really weird niche of homophobia that
Yeah. What?
Yeah, like I even wrote it here, but Sophie, you are thinking, what's the problem with that? Romans are big time gay.
Yeah, exactly.
It was that he was like, I guess like not an alpha. You know what I mean? Like he was
That's
not like,
weird.
I fuck you. He was like, I'm cool to get doinked. So people were like, he's weak.
That is such a weird distinction that
Right?
nobody needed to make. Nobody needed to know that.
Happy
That's like
Pride.
deeply God, yeah, in June of all months.
I know. But I did see a really cool, this is a little bit of a tangent, but another, like, I think Roman or Greek discovery, but there was this rock found that had 2 penises carved on it. And it, like, basically the inscription on it was like, you know, so-and-so was mounting so-and-so here. Like, it was
Great.
like this ancient graffiti that was like, we doinked here.
That's fun.
And it was like on top of a mountain. It was a beautiful view. So anyway, he also was judged a lot for his religious beliefs. Usually Romans were pretty laissez-faire about adding new gods to the canon, but he ended up replacing Jupiter, who was kind of like, you know, head guy.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that Zeus, kind of?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that seems bad.
He ended up replacing that god with a more Eastern god that he had kind of grown up with, and people were not cool with that. They didn't like it.
That seems like a big change.
It was this god Elagabalus, who was a sun god and is possibly like Syrian in origin, and people just like were not cool with that, so he became extremely unpopular.
Yikes.
So this painting that's up here is a depiction of a party that he was having one time. And everyone was like drinking and having fun and having sex. And he had rigged this false ceiling. I say him, he had paid people to do it. Rigged this false ceiling that at a appointed time would fall, and all of these rose petals were going to fall on everybody. And at the appointed time, they did fall. And it wasn't just a couple rose petals, it was a fuck ton of rose petals.
Yeah, okay.
So many that it was suffocating people, and people could not
Jesus.
get out of the room and were like on top of each other and like getting suffocated by
Oh
the
my-
amount of petals.
Oh my God.
And that guy in the painting who's just like lounging and watching it all happen, that's him.
Oh, okay. Not great, if I'm being honest. Not great.
Not the best.
Ugh.
So a little background on this painting itself. So in the Victorian times, which is when this painting was painted, it was painted in 1888 by Sir Lawrence Altima Tanima. But he was commissioned to paint this painting, and academic paintings were kind of all the rage in Victorian times. These were paintings that depicted events from history,
Sure.
or that could like teach you something, a lesson.
Yeah.
The Victorians in this time saw themselves a lot connected with the Roman Empire, because the Victorian time was also the height of the English Empire. So like, when we're talking about Victorians, usually we're talking about English Victorians in this instance. They connected very much to the Roman Empire because, you know, the sun never sets on the British Empire. They were both vast empires that touched so much of the world. And so, like, they would often see themselves reflected in the Roman Empire.
Sure. Makes sense. Those jackasses.
Right? So, this event, it was recorded in the Historia Augusta, which was like an account of the times, but people also knew this account to be kind of hyperbolic and sometimes a little untrue. So like they put kind of radical shit in there sometimes.
Gossip.
Yes. So we're not entirely sure that this mass murder with rose petals even ever happened, but it's very creepy to think about. And there were some interesting changes made in the painting itself to reflect kind of some of the themes of like the Victorians versus like the Romans. In the original telling of this event, the rose petals are actually violets, but they were changed to roses in this painting because roses have kind of a lustful significance to Victorians. Victorians were very into flower language.
Okay.
Like flowers, like meaning different things.
Sure.
And like red roses were, of course, like lust and passion. And so like Victorians would have understood through this flower language that the people at the party were getting suffocated for their lust and sin.
Oh, okay.
So the Victorian view of this painting is quite different than what we would view it as. Like, we're viewing it as, oh, fuck, like, those people are getting suffocated by roses. That's terrible. And Victorians would view it and be like, ah, yes, a just death for these people who are lustful. They're getting suffocated by their lust.
Wow, that is a distinction, an important distinction.
Right? But I think that the contrast of such a beautiful painting that we view roses now as something very soft, kind of feminine, romantic, springtime, you know, those kind of associations. So the painting reads so differently to a modern audience versus like Victorians who would have understood it to be violent and lustful and like a type of retribution for their sins.
Wild. I thought it looked very peaceful, but I maybe need to look again.
Well, if you do go back and look, listeners, if you look at like the painting on Instagram, if you look at some of the people in the foreground, it does look like they're struggling.
Yeah, I guess really zooming in now, I can see that people are being like covered by it.
And they're like on top of each other.
Nobody looks in like great distress is the thing. But now like zooming in, I can see that it's that like some of them are trying to escape clearly with their arms the way they are.
Yeah, so when I first learned about this, I spent a lot of time looking at this painting and I thought it was very haunting. Like creepy photographs you see on Instagram sometimes where it's just like a photo of like two people and then the caption is like, this was the last photo taken of this couple before their car reeled off a bridge. Like,
right. Creepy.
Yeah, so I thought it fit that creepy theme of like, this is not what it seems.
Definitely my view of it changed in the last 15 minutes.
Well, does this end our little art section?
It does. Art Bone-anza middle session is over.
Put away your berets and your long skinny cigarettes.
No, that was great. I'm going to take us... Actually, I picked an even more current one. This took place in Portland and Beaverton, Oregon, so where I live.
Literally so close.
Yeah. This is the story of Nancy Crampton Brophy and the murder of Daniel Brophy.
Oh.
Sources for this were All That's Interesting and Oregon Live. So this the murder took place on June 2nd, 2018 at the Oregon Culinary Institute, where students arrived for class in the morning and they found their 68-year-old teacher, Daniel Brophy, dead on the floor from multiple gunshot wounds. So obviously this was, hideous. This was immediately ruled a homicide, but it took the police about 3 months before they were able to come up with the primary suspect, his wife, Nancy Crampton Brophy.
Nancy, what have you done?
So they found traffic camera footage of her minivan arriving at the Oregon Culinary Institute during a 13-minute window where it is estimated that Daniel Brophy was killed because he had kids arrived at I don't know that they were kids, but the students arrived at like a certain time. So they know that there was a certain window when he was there and when the students arrived. But this is kind of my favorite part of this all. They have footage of her car during the time of the murder near the crime scene. And she claims to have no memory of the drive. And she blames retrograde amnesia from the trauma of finding out that her husband was killed.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a second. Wait a second here.
Uh-huh.
So she had retrograde amnesia.
So she's
from
like, I don't know what.
finding out
Mm-hmm.
that her husband was dead,
Mm-hmm.
but she killed her husband.
Uh-huh.
Explain it to me, Caitlin.
She's batshit? Well, she tries to spin it like she heard that there was a shooting at the Oregon Culinary Institute, so she drove over there and found out that her husband was murdered. But there's footage from earlier, like there's a huge discrepancy in the timeline, so it doesn't make sense.
I misunderstood what you were trying to tell me, that like she time traveled.
No time travel. She just doesn't. She was trying to make herself look innocent, basically.
Yes, exactly.
You know, she's trying to hide the fact that she was very suspicious. So what police find out when they search her internet history is that she's been researching untraceable ghost guns. And they find that even though they were struggling financially, her and Daniel, she spent about $15,000 on guns and parts of guns in the year, like between 2017 and 2018 when he was killed.
That's not a responsible use of money.
No. So she, I guess, got a kit for a ghost gun in January 2018. And then she also got a Glock handgun barrel on eBay. She has, like, in her history, there's, quote, cleaning a Glock 17, quote, loading a 9mm Glock. And, like, so she watched a bunch of videos about this stuff. So the gun was never actually found, the one that was, like, they were never able to match it to anything. But they believe that she, like, through her internet searches, realized that you could put different parts of different guns together and make a quote-unquote ghost gun.
Yeah, that's a thing that I've actually heard of people buying these kits where you can basically switch and swap gun parts.
It's scary. I hadn't really considered it, actually, but yeah, it's next wave of how to evade capture, I guess. Like, have an untraceable gun, this ghost gun. It's a scary idea, actually.
I mean, just another hideous layer on the seemingly endless gun problem we have in this country.
Also, she bought some of this stuff on eBay. That's troubling to me.
That's very troubling to me. I did not know you could buy that kind of stuff on eBay.
So
although you can buy some weird shit on eBay.
I guess we haven't explored the deep reaches of eBay lately, but, you know.
Yeah, note to self, look up eBay crimes.
So Nancy was arrested on September 6, 2018 and charged with the murder of her husband. And her trial began in April 2022. I can only imagine that it was delayed because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And the prosecution's case was, to be fair, it was mostly circumstantial. It relied on that traffic camera footage that we talked about and her internet search history. And they were able to show that the two of them had been struggling financially and that, wouldn't you know it, Nancy was hoping to cash in on what?
Life insurance policy.
Ding, 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 ding. We're still doing it in 2018. It's a life insurance scheme, most likely.
How do people not see that is so obvious? Also, how do we look at the life insurance policy industry? And, how do we, is there a vetting process? I don't expect you to know any of this, Kate.
No, I don't.
Just, these are just questions I have that it's, such a popular motive.
Well, she never got it, because she was a suspect from the beginning.
Thank goodness,
so, So she never saw any of this. But, so here's what makes this case a little extra creepy. About 7 years before the murder, this lady, Nancy Brophy, wrote a essay called How to Murder Your Husband. She really did. She really did.
And she published this?
Yeah. The judge in her trial threw it out because it was written 7 years before this murder took place. The judge said, quote, any minimal probative value of an article written that long ago is substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice and confusion of the issues.
Fair. But I would argue that not everyone who writes an article like that then kills their husband.
Oh, no, definitely. Here is an excerpt from this essay that is deeply troubling.
Oh, God, you gotta be kidding me. Give it to me.
All right. She wrote, quote, "As a romantic suspense writer, I spend a lot of time thinking about murder and consequently about police procedure. After all, if the murder is supposed to set me free, I certainly don't want to spend any time in jail. I find it easier to wish people dead than to actually kill them. I don't want to worry about blood and brains splattered on my walls." Sorry, it's not funny. It's insane.
It's shocking.
And really, I'm not good at remembering lies, but the thing I know about murder is that every one of us has it in him/her when pushed far enough.
Okay, that's what you believe.
Uh-huh.
That is so... Like, I understand that it was written, like, 7 years before the crime, but, like, how is that not something of her character? Like...
Oh, yeah. That's why this case has, like, stuck around, because it's deeply troubling that she laid it all out there and then she did it.
If the murder is supposed to free me, I don't want to spend any time in jail.
Well... So after 7 weeks of trial, 2 days of deliberation, without the jurors knowing about that essay, mind you, Nancy Brophy was found guilty of murdering her husband and sentenced to life in prison.
Well, there you go. How free are you now, bitch?
Well, she's not free, but I found an article from like 4 days ago on Oregon Live. She has filed an appeal as of this year, 2024, claiming a bunch of like errors in her trial from 2022. So one of the weirder parts of this appeal is that the attorney insists that she shouldn't have been allowed to answer a question from the prosecutor when he said, quote, "My last question to you, Ms. Brophy, is if there's one thing that you know about murder, is it that anyone is capable of doing it?" And of course, she couldn't resist answering it and saying yes. But he kind of, it was technically part of her essay.
You idiot, but that's such a good line.
Mm-hmm. So basically that's part of the appeal, is that by asking that question, he was, alluding to this essay that was excluded from evidence. So that's interesting to me.
It's like, that's such a good line, and that would be fantastic in a movie. But prosecutor, my guy, we do not want un mistrial. We do not want un appeal. Like, play by the rules, you bitch.
Yeah, it's a little fishy. So
it's just like grandstandy. Like, it's such a good line, but it's like, if you're playing to win, you need to play by the rules. Yep. Like, in this kind of thing. Like,
oh yeah. So the argument is that her opinion, quote, regarding humanity's capacity for murder was irrelevant and improper character evidence and should have been shut down by an objection.
Well, where was that objection?
Exactly, yeah. So
isn't that your lawyer's job?
Yeah. But that's grounds for an appeal. Yeah, even like improper defense is grounds for an appeal.
You're right.
Right?
Fuck. You have 2 in there.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, Jesus Christ, guys, no bungle.
But there's a few other reasons why the appeal is like 68 page motion apparently. So there's a lot to be said. So one of the other arguments is that some photos that were taken by Detective Rico Beniga of a scratch on her van that were taken at her home on the day of the murder should have been excluded. So I have to assume that she has a distinctive scratch on her van that was able to help them find her on camera footage that day. So the appeal is saying that Nancy, remember, she said, I heard about the murder and I drove to the scene and was told, and so this is true. She basically drove there twice. And so a police officer came back with her the second time. He didn't know it was the second time until several hours later when they found this camera footage. So the investigator takes a picture of her car at that time. And apparently, even though she had let him into the house, that the lawyer is claiming that this picture is shouldn't have been allowed in evidence, which I don't know that I see, but whatever.
I guess I can see it where if it's like she's not being officially searched, like nothing should be recorded about her residence and possessions. But
Well, they're saying that, quote, the detective took the picture from a part of the driveway not directly on the path to the front door and broke the implied consent that Crampton Brophy had given him to enter the home. So,
okay, so she
I
was
don't know.
saying, okay, interesting. So she's saying that she consented for him to enter the home, but not to take the picture?
Yeah, I think that's what that argument is. Of course, they're also hoping to throw out all the evidence from her computer. All those internet search history, like, things were crucial at her trial and convicted her.
What's the problem with that?
I guess I couldn't really parse out what the problem was. They just think that the warrants to search the computer were obtained illegally is what they're saying. There's one other thing, though.
Yeah.
The defense attorney is saying there are some documents from insurance companies, life insurance companies, that shouldn't have been introduced at trial without testimony from a person that could vouch for their accuracy. So again, like, the life insurance policies was a part of their argument for why she was doing this. And I guess the defense says they should have had somebody testify to the authenticity of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, this is like the sticky wicket of, like, you know, the wheels of justice is that they have to turn fairly for everyone.
Right.
And, like, if you find that, like, something was obtained illegally, or if, like, things aren't, like, authentic or up to date, like, it can really screw you, you know?
Yeah. So according to Oregon Live, the state of Oregon has to respond by August of this year. So we might have an update later this summer, but apparently delays are, you know, common in appellate courts. And Oregon Live says that even if there was a ruling in her favor, it would mean that she was just transferred back to county jail to prepare for another trial. So it would still be a long way off to have another trial and everything. But right now, she is going to be eligible for parole at the age of 96.
Well, let's hope that sticks.
It seems to me like she did it and she was convicted of it.
The whole ghost gun thing. Come on.
Yeah, that's pretty damning.
Like,
and you wrote the goddamn essay. Like, the jury didn't even hear that about that essay and they still convicted her.
Yeah. Ugh. Imagine if that was allowed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
that would have been prejudicial.
Yes. Yes.
But, like, she wrote it. But, you know, still.
But is so damning.
Yep.
Like, it's so damning. Like, I think the things written that long ago and that are unassociated with the case, like, shouldn't be allowed. But it is just so dripping with I'm gonna do this later in my life.
Exactly.
Like, if she was thinking about it 7 years ago.
Yeah, does that mean she was plotting it for that long? Like, did she snap? Was it just about the money? Like, yeah, it's wild.
That is creepy.
I am gonna, like, if there are any big updates, I'll try and update everybody because this is right in my backyard, so I'm very curious to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm invested as well. Wow, what a nuts bonanza.
Yeah, we went everywhere and we didn't double up. That has only happened once in the history of bonanzas where we had the same topic. But
oh my God.
I still get a little twinge. Yeah, I get a twinge sometimes when we haven't told each other anything about what we're talking about.
Where it's like, will there be a double bonanza surprise?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like because we've been doing this so long, we've gone into, like, totally different
realms,
directions. Yeah. But I did love that we both had an art topic. I think that's so fun.
Yeah. Well, we hope.
I was just going to say, if you have any bonanza topics or any longer topics, please submit them to us at our Instagram, Anything Bones Podcast. If you're listening to this and you really enjoyed it and you haven't given us a rating, make sure to give us 5 stars on whatever platform you're enjoying this beautiful bonanza on.
Yeah, it really helps us get the word out there about bones.
Yeah.
I hope you're having a good rest of your day, rest of your week, rest of your life. Appreciate your bones, as we sometimes like to say. And as always, bones. Pride Month. Bye.
Bye. Wonderful.
Thanks for listening to Anything Bones. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Anything Bones Podcast, or email us at anythingbonespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Nick Kruger for our spooky music and Stephen Vetteroff
At Chubby Scrubby on Twitter.
for our jazzy vocals, and thank you to Camilla Franklin
At Camilla Strader on Instagram.
for our beautiful bony artwork. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Oh no.
Wah, wah.